Hello, my name is Anjani Segrist, and this is going to be a short video explaining the sequencing of the Shamanic Astrology readings that I've been doing. And I'm calling it Shamanic Astrology because that's where I've done most of my studying. Here's the handbook from my teachers. And of course, like with everything I do, I study it somewhere, and I kind of do it in my way. So it's the same thing with these readings I'm doing. I follow the script as much as I find it useful, and there's a few things that as I go, things that feel right for me to do them in a different way. So when you're getting a reading from me, you have to keep that in mind. There's a difference between Western astrology, Vedic astrology, and Shamanic astrology. And the different schools, in Western astrology, there's a whole bunch of ways of, different house systems, different meanings to the planets and the nodes. In Vedic astrology, they have their own whole set of ways to relate to the asteroids and to the nodes also, and constellations. And in Shamanic astrology, we're using all of those things, and it's a little bit different because to me, I find that I have a little bit of experience with Vedic astrology and a lot of experience with Western astrology. And the main difference in this way is in the Shamanic astrology way is that we're giving a lot more space for opportunities and choices, and it's not so focused on giving prescriptions and giving like, this is what you have, or this is what you are. If you have a Scorpio moon, too bad for you. If it's not like that. It's like we're seeing the challenges, of course, and opportunities and choices. So in this video, I talk about the way that I break these up. So I break them up into 3 different readings. The first one is, I call it the life intentions. That's 30 minutes. And the second one, I call it strategies. And then the third reading, I will call a timeline reading. So I'll just take this chart. It's just the top one that I'm working with. Actually, I won't use that one. Grab this one. And so this is what a chart looks like. And they all look a little bit different. This stuff here in the center is what we call a natal chart. The stuff on the outside here, this is the way I've been printing up my charts anyway. I will call this a bi-wheel. And the outside tells what is happening in the sky right now. So again, I read a little bit different, and I'm going to tell in this video my relationship to astrology so you can understand where I'm coming from when I'm doing my readings. So once I was sitting in meditation, really just connecting to the planets and to charts, and I got this whole download for the way that I'm working. And the way that I saw it was sort of like a chart superimposed above in the sky, and it was like, when a child is born, there's whatever's happening in the sky at that moment, there's like a snapshot, and the child is born with this sort of snapshot of whatever's happening in the sky at that given moment. And then we're like a walking embodiment of this moment. And so this, which is the moment of time in the sky that you were born, it's sort of like the way it looked to me in my mind and my when I was sitting in meditation that early morning, was like a table of a dinner party almost. So it's like the way it looked to me anyway was like gods and goddesses, or the archetypes of certain gods and goddesses, stories of mythology. So each of these, you know, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, Venus, Mars, they're all up there, dinner party. Everybody has their own moods and characteristics and the way that they're sitting, you know. So if Venus is sitting across the table from the moon, there, you know, there's a certain energy that's magnified between those two at the moment, and Saturn sitting next to, you know, you get the point. So when I do the reading, I'm looking at it like that. So, you know, what if Saturn was looking directly at what was rising on your chart? Saturn being the teacher, rising being what you're learning about. So, you know, it gives a certain sort of energy. So that's the way I'm looking at these charts. So the center is what's happening for you natally, your natal chart. And the first 30 minutes, I cover the midheaven, the contribution to the world, the Home and Roots project. So I call this a four corners reading because I'm reading the four corners. I'm over here, what's rising, what's on the descent. I cover in the first reading relationship material, so Venus and Mars. And that's pretty much it for the first 30 minutes. The second 30 minutes, I get into these different angles, the position. So this would be where the table is and where people are sitting across from each other. I talk about, oh yeah, you have Chiron square to the moon, and you know, I tell what the moon represents and how, you know, Chiron is affecting that. That's another 30 minutes. This section can actually go on for a really long time because there's a lot to talk about in the strategy section. The first 30 minutes is really cut and dry. It's just, there's really not a lot of like supposing and suggesting. It's just, you know, what's your lineage? And so I look at the nodes, the south node and north node, to get the lineage, what you're already a master of, the new school, what you're learning about, then your relationship material, relationship axis, home and roots, the midheaven, and then I usually will cover Jupiter, which is the fastest pathway to evolution. And then on the strategies, like I said, it takes a little bit longer. I could go on, but you know, it's up to you, whatever you want to have done. And then the timeline material, I look at the outside ring, which is the sky at the moment. And, you know, this we can see, say, let's say Chiron, and, you know, oh, Chiron square to Saturn right now. So this will tell what sort of, I call it initiations or cycles or phases that you're in your life. It's really helpful to know. Somebody who I recently read for was in a Pluto cycle. Pluto was square to his home and roots, and he was on the brink of, you know, possibly losing his job. And being in that cycle with Pluto square to the home and roots, and Saturn was also at his home and roots, so Pluto was also square to Saturn, you know, which was telling exactly about that situation that he was going through, and this was part of a phase that he was in. And, you know, once we find those things out from the chart, we can consciously work with these phases and move into them with a certain sort of understanding of what that phase is meant to do, what that phase means, and how to best participate with the phases in life. So I am super passionate about reading charts. I love it. I have hundreds of charts, and when I'm getting ready to read a chart, I sit with it for a while. I make all these notes and draw on them. This is one that I really got really interested in. So I would love to do a reading for you, and just wanted to let you know the way that I interpret and the way that I'm working with this material. And thank you.